Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Hey, there we go. Hey, there we go. Hey, there we go. Hey. Okay. All right, let's get rid of that stuff. I think the birds can be heard kind of in the background. Yep, I can hear them coming through the audio. Okay, let's see here. Turn my camera on for today for a little bit. What are my hotkeys? Mute, unmute. Okay. That's the button. Yep, that works. Okay. Let's close you. Put my notes up over there. Lots of windows open. Okay. Birds. Okay, so how do I sound to those of you who have jumped on early? Let's open the mic back up just to check the audio. And it's noon. We'll wait a few more minutes for people to filter in, but how does the audio sound to everyone watching the stream right now? Good? Bad? Anything? Oh, good. Thank you. My paranoia was on the rise. No. Okay. How about that, Colleen? Can you hear me now? Excellent. So we'll just give it like I said, just a few more minutes to let people filter in a little bit. These are the days when I need that third monitor. Alrighty. We will get started here. Sorry, just trying to get everything squared away. This scene. Hey! There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the July Lunch and Learn for the WiscWeb service. Um, as I emailed out earlier, the agenda is kind of light in comparison to last month's agenda, just because last month was our big UW theme update. So, um, this month will, I guess, be a little. My microphone's hanging over here. Um, a little less, I guess, all encompassing for the things that we're going to cover. But we do have some important notes to put out there for everyone, just a few reminders for some things, and then we can chat about whatever you guys might want to chat about. Any questions you guys might have, anything of that nature that you might want to have me um, go over. So, hi everybody. I'm Matt Goins with the WiscWeb team. Um, I'm the one most of you will hear from on a pretty regular basis whenever communications go out from the WiscWeb service. So, for those of you who are maybe just tuning in for the first time, hi. For those of you who are tuning in again, thanks for coming back. I've got the camera on today just so people can put name with face for those of you who haven't seen me before. In the open labs or in the training. So the first thing we want to touch on today is just a bit of an update from yesterday's outage that the service experienced, and it was a very specific outage. So not everybody was affected by it. So some of you may not have even um, known that something was going on aside from the communication that I sent out yesterday. So essentially, what happened was at some point over the last 3 days, we're thinking Tuesday ish, maybe Monday, um, the ability to log into a site that had a .wiscweb.wisc.edu domain. So any of your build sites, your project sites. So anything, for example, one of the groups that reached out to us was the chemistry demonstration lab. So demolab.wiscweb.wisc.edu was one of them. Um, they're the ones who contacted me first. We started looking into it, realized that it was something that was more widespread than just a single site. We got a few more tickets in and we started to dig into it. We don't really know where the change happened or how the change happened, but something forced a change in our um, process that we use for NetID authentication, specifically affecting those sites that have a subdomain of .wiscweb.wisc.edu. Um, Whenever we create these new domains, we add them to a particular list or we add them to a particular process that allows for the NetID authentication to occur so that people can log in and begin editing their sites. We had a blanket process set up that would automatically um, add those particular domains to this list. Something changed and that blanket went away. So what we did yesterday, I mean, I think we were on a call together for about 4 or 5 hours, just kind of digging in as a team and testing things out. And what we did was we individually added sites so that this, the sites that this was affecting, you could log in and continue working on your sites. Um, we have some things in place. Oh, I know. Whenever I move my mic, I'm sorry, Colleen. And also, I'm a very demonstrative speaker, so sometimes I get loud, sometimes I get quiet. Um, we have some things in place that we're going to be testing out and applying. We hope to have this issue resolved by next week, but we really want anyone who is experiencing this issue to reach out to us so that we can um, continue to sort of add those sites to our list so that you can get in to your um, site. So just to kind of show you what was happening. So I'm in WiscWeb, obviously, and we added a bunch of sites except for a couple, and we wanted to leave a couple out so that we could test them later on once we got our processes squared away. But essentially, what's happening is I have my this training site, which I have used in the past to do any of the demos that I do, either with the Learn with Matt stuff that I do, or with anything that I do in the Lunch and Learn. So it's worked in the past. But what started happening, um, again, sometime this week, was this error message started popping up for anyone who tried to authenticate in to their uh, wiscweb.wis.edu subdomain. So this is what you would have been seeing yesterday. Again, very specific group of users that this was affecting, but frustrating nonetheless. So again, we hope to have something in place by next week to resolve this issue moving forward. We have a temporary fix in place, so we'll be working on that as new sites are requested. And again, if you do notice any issues with logging in, authenticating to your site, please let us know so that we can add them to our list of things to test out once we start putting in these fixes. So that's that one. Small, but mighty. Second thing to note, oops, didn't mean to do that. Second thing to note is this was a news article that popped up a couple of months ago. I don't remember when exactly I saw it, but WordPress as a service, not just WiscWeb, not just Do It, not just UW Madison, WordPress, the content management system, will no longer support Internet Explorer 11. So I did link the article in um, the email that I sent out earlier, but essentially when we do the update for WordPress to version 5.8, we are at 5.7.2 right now. So when that WordPress update comes out, and they say July of this year, but we'll see. I don't know what their release schedule is like. Um, uh, IE11 will no longer be supported. I don't know if that will affect a number of you. I know there are some services or some apps on campus that still require like IE to access them. So I don't know if people are just using IE just because it's what they have to use for other things. But just be aware of the fact that IE11 will no longer be supported by WordPress, which in turn means that you might see some issues with any of the newer functions that start to get rolled out within WordPress proper, and then also possibly with the plugins that we use that do use some of that WordPress functionality. We obviously haven't tested it yet to see where any issues might come up because we haven't gotten 5.8 yet onto any of our dev or any of our test servers. But I just wanted to make sure that people are aware of this just because of the fact that inevitably someone will try to use IE11 to edit their site and things will look wonky. We don't know what, we don't know when, we don't know where, but just be aware of that. So again, the article is in the email that I sent out earlier. Take a look at the full information there if you want. Next up on the list, I'm actually gonna bump one real quick. I'll do this one after I do another news update, setting a page to be non-indexed. So the other news of note is the fact that events calendar itself is also going to be changing. So this was actually something that was announced much earlier this year, I think. Yeah, so January 2020. A new version of events calendar was released. That new version of events calendar introduced new views to the theme of events calendar proper. We turned those views off because they were causing us a number of PHP errors in the background. So things that we check within our AWS error logs. we were seeing errors popping up there that related to the events calendar. And we have a number of sites that use events calendar. So you can imagine how many of those errors we're starting to process through. So we turned off this new view because at the time we sort of let what was working continue to work. Um, the events calendar vendor, I'm not sure who the vendor is proper, but the events calendar vendor um, released a message that said at some point this year when they release version 5.0.0, and they say as of August 3rd, again, we'll see, um, those legacy views, which is what the view is that we use, will no longer work, which means everyone will get the new version of events calendar. So we won't patch events calendar until we have tested this version, the 5.0.0 version. But we just want people to know that it's coming. We're going to test it. We're going to figure out, if it works. How does it work in relation to those errors that we were seeing previously? But to give you guys an idea of what that view looks like, I'm in QA and I have the ability to turn on that legacy view. But essentially, this is what the legacy month view looks like. Let me zoom in a little bit here so people can see a little bit better on the screen. So you can kind of see this is what the month view looks like right here. You can kind of see when you mouse over some things, um, what that looks like, the little icons to let you know that this is a recurring event. I don't know that I have anything particularly special or different about mine. Let's take a look at an event proper. So I have some featured images in these, but here's the way that this event looks up at the very top. You can see the font changes as you go down, and then you can kind of see um, the way that this is going to look when we move forward with this. So again, I'm not really sure. Let me zoom out now just because that looks way too busy. We're not sure what this is going to look like when we put the 5.0 version into our QA environment, into our test environments. So we'll see. So a change is coming. We just don't know what that change is going to look like. And again, this is um, that's interesting. I don't like that, the way that it bounces when you mouse over this thing here. Um, so like I said, we'll test it. We'll let you all know. We'll figure things out once we go from there. I'm curious. Do I have a list view? Yeah, I do. Let's see what the list view looks like with this new. Yeah, so here's what so for those of you who use events calendar, this used to have a little icon right here. It doesn't have an icon there now. This is what the list view will look like. I don't mind this too much. This looks okay. I don't think that would throw me too much. We just, honestly, it might look a lot better. Our biggest issue was it was throwing errors to our error logs. So we have to figure out why those errors were occurring. So again, the plugin update is scheduled to release August 3rd. We will test it when it releases, and then we may push it to September before we do our release of it. But that's all subject to change. Okay. Any questions about the IE11 no longer being supported or the events calendar change that is eventually coming? Or even any questions about the update regarding our outage before I jump down to the next little thing that we're going to chat about? Oh, I wait patiently because I know there's a delay between when I say things and when you all hear it. Okay. So one little how-to that we wanted to touch on in this particular lunch and learn is, um, so for those of you who recall, last month we talked about the UW theme release, and one of the changes to the UW theme was this meta tag functionality. So let me just create a page here, call it testing page. So all of these meta tag functionalities that appear down here at the bottom, and this all has to do with search engines, has to do with social media plugins, things of that nature. We were trying to recreate slash um, meet the needs of some of the functionality that people have wanted out of the other out of a particular plugin called Yoast SEO. Um, so we threw these things in to sort of help increase that sort of SEO optimization. So one of the things that you can do as a part of this meta tag functionality is you can actually add in a meta tag that sets your page to be non-indexed. And what non-indexed means is a search engine will not crawl it. Google will not crawl it. So how this is done, and I need to bring up the notes because I haven't actually done this yet, so I'm gonna follow some notes that Jenna had created for a KB doc that we were going to create for this. But essentially, you want to. I'm going to unmute you, Jenna, because I just want your clarification on this. Can this be done? I know in our recommendations this should be done to a brand new page that you're creating. Can this be done to a page that already exists? Jenna. Jenna, can you hear me? She must have stepped away. Um, I think you can do this to a page that exists, but I'm not sure. So I want to clarify that whenever Jenna gets back and she can answer my question. But essentially, what you do is you add a meta tag down here at the bottom. In the property field, you set it to robots because the property that you want to capture is robots. That is essentially the functionality of what search engines use to crawl your pages. And then the content is no index. So you're telling this automated functionality of a crawl to not index your page. And so what this does is it removes it from search engine functionality. Now, this is Jenna has issues with Google Meet, so sometimes she can answer, sometimes she's there, sometimes she isn't. Um, so essentially, what happens is when you set this, you basically hide your search engine or your page from search engines. So the benefit of this, the real benefit of this that we're trying to highlight here is for those of you who have content that you want to, I guess, hide, quote unquote, hide. Um, Setting something to be non indexed means that it can't be picked up via a search functionality. And so, ideally, the only way anyone could get to that content is if you provided them with the direct URL. So, in essence, you might have um, a few pages that you had created and didn't put into your navigation structure, didn't link to from any other page within your site. It is just a page that you created, set it to no index. It should not exist in Google search. Google search is what I say, but any search engine, any search functionality, it should not exist from there. So The reason why I was uncertain about the fact that this is whether or not this can work with a existing page is the fact that you need to run, and there's some tips down here that we're going to put into our knowledge base document once we set this up. Is I'll copy this link real quick, and I'll just dump this over here. So there's one of the links, and then what this does is it allows you to essentially tell. I shouldn't say tell because I think I said this at a previous lunch and learn or a previous learn with Matt. Um, you don't tell Google to do anything. Google is its own entity. It's its own, you know, intelligence basically. You can request Google to recrawl your site. When that happens is uncertain, but you can request it. So once you have set a page to non-index, to no index, I should say, you should request Google to recrawl it. Um, but ideally, what I would say is if there's something that you want to set to a no index, create a new page, set it to no index right away, publish that page, and then let it sit in nothingness until you share that link with whomever you want to share it with. All right. Any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. I say that this is all very foreign to me, this whole meta tag stuff. Um, it's my events testing page. Oop, there it is. Um, so, you know, that was a pretty straightforward thing. You add a tag, robots, no index, publish it, request Google to crawl your site, you're good. You should be good. Any questions on that at all? Uh, I guess I should point out one of the things that we're trying to assist with. We know that one of the limitations that we have, and it is something that's on our roadmap to investigate how to do it best, is the fact that we don't have page level authentication into locking down particular pages or sections of your site. We don't have that functionality. Um, um, Potentially, Linda. That is definitely something that you could do because because basically, yeah, you're saying I don't want this page to be picked up by a search engine. I don't want it to be picked up by. So hopefully, most of you have seen the KB doc of setting up Google search for your actual on-page search as well. So between the two, um, you could do that. And yes, you could potentially decide to do that later, or you could basically call the page test dash blah blah blah. You could duplicate that page, remove the meta tag, publish that page, and you're good to go. I'm very unfamiliar with how the meta tag process works, so I don't want to say something that would be incorrect. But yes, ideally, what you said there is you set them to no index, later changes so that they can be indexed. But again, if you're creating them and then removing it, what Jenna just said, if you request Google to crawl it, there's no certainty as to when it would happen. If it's something that is a part of your navigation, not the not the worst thing in the world. You can still get to it via your site structure, but um, that's the bigger issue there. All right. Any other questions on that thing? Okay, so reminders time. So first things first, we have. Let me close up all these pages. My goodness, here. Okay. So reminders. We have our feature request board. Um, this is something that we would really like you all to, um, I guess, be aware of and I guess help us out, take advantage of. So, KB Doc, I'll put this in the chat as well. Na, na, na. Na, na, na. So the purpose of the feature request board is for you all to tell us what you would like us to be working on for theme updates or service updates. Um, what we do is we take a look at these functionalities or I'm sorry, functionalities, these requests. We look at what the functionality is that you are requesting and I guess quote unquote ease of putting this in. We prioritize them based on popularity or ideally popularity would be what we would prioritize them on because then we know this is something that a number of people want us to do. So um, let's see. I think we have started to um, add some of these things to our roadmaps. Jenna would be able to better um, answer that, but we this is something that is going to help influence us in moving the service forward? What types of things do you guys want? What types of things do you see out there that you think would be a benefit to the service as a whole? That's one thing that we have to make sure that we really point out is um, lots of requests come in but they're very specific requests to things that people want to do with their individual sites. And it's hard for us to designate developer time to something that is going to be just good for one. Um, so that's why the feature request board would be useful, is because then you could share what you think would benefit the service as a whole. Other people could look at it and could upvote it. And again, upvotes helps us um, determine what is quote unquote most necessary or desired. So yeah, as Jenna said, we've started to sort of take a look at this along with the user survey. Yep, the user survey is something that has also influenced a number of the changes that we're looking at for our roadmap for this year. So I just wanted to point that out. I put the KB Doc link in there. We really encourage people to take a look at this and get involved. One of the things that I guess from my own standpoint that I really want to push for is making sure that we're staying fresh isn't the right word, modern, useful to all of you. Um, we could throw a billion things at the walls that are great for us, but if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't really matter. So we really want to know what you need, what you want. So the feature request board is the best way to let us know. Das dat. For those of you who are already on the mailing list, you have probably seen this, but the WordPress Community of Practice group, which we have highlighted in the past, um, has a Teams channel now. And there is the go.wisc.edu URL for it. 216. I will also grab this and put this in the chat. That is the link to join the Community of Practice Teams channel. Again, I can't. I have too many teams, so I'm gonna minimize things quite a bit here. But um, here we are. Um, this is the WordPress users community of practice group. Um, there's just the general channel for most of us, but there's a lot of conversation that's already happened, and you can see Rich um, put in there that we were having this lunch and learn today, and I responded in kind with, "Boy, I hope it's exciting." Um, but this is one of those things that Jenna and I are, I don't, passionate's not the right word. We are passionate about it, but we like this because of the fact that it is a group of you together sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, sharing critiques. Um, I have thick skin. I have been yelled at plenty of times. I'm okay with seeing what you don't like, what's not working, because again, that helps influence conversation for us. But it's a great resource to go and just chat with other people, ask questions. Jenna and I are in there. We engage in the conversations as well. Um, we don't want it to necessarily be a support channel, but we do want it to be a spot where you can go to chat about things, um, and ask questions of your other WordPress users and UW theme users and WiscWeb users, etc. There is a very wide variety of expertise involved in that channel, from your most basic users of WordPress to people who are developers and do customizations of this type of stuff on a regular basis. So lots of various opinions that you'll be able to get from um, that group there. So plug in. And then one last note, just for your purposes, for all of you to be aware of. In the past, in our communications and in a lot of the conversations that we've had, we've always told you to reach out to a different email address, our CMS support email address. And at the time, those were designated to go through help desk. Help desk is our level 1 support. They try to answer questions at that level before they kick it up to us at the WiscWeb level. That was just to help alleviate some of the support process that at times could overwhelm us with some of the questions that come in. We have had to change that because of the way that the Sherwell ticketing process works, and the way that the email listener process works. So if you want to open a support ticket with us, we want you to just email the help desk contact email directly. So help@doit.wisc.edu is um, the email address for that. Let's see. Trying to think of anything. This is when I would prompt Jenna in the Google Hangout to let me know if there's anything else that I should mention here. So, Jenna, while you're in the chat there, is there anything else that we'd like to mention here? Otherwise, a few notes. For all of your purposes, I have been at the WiscWeb service site, wiscweb.wisc.edu, under training. I have been doing these Learn with Matt series, so um, I am linking those videos there. I will continue to do so. The next Learn with Matt that I'm going to be doing is, I believe I scheduled it for next Friday. Please hold while I open my email. Na, 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 na. I think I'm doing it next Friday. I thought I scheduled it, but maybe not. I have another Learn with Matt coming up, and I'll communicate. I'm sorry. Um, I'll communicate it out once I know for sure. I was waiting because Jenna was going to be gone, and I was going to do a Gravity Forms Learn with Matt next week. We've gotten a few questions about just the general, the new look of Gravity Forms, and I've built several Gravity Forms that do some different things for people, and so I was just going to do just a general overview of some of the various things that you can do with like conditional logic and notification processes, and um, you know, essentially how to go about using the gravity forms entries and things of that nature as well. So I was going to do uh, a fairly encompassing gravity forms training. I've done those in the past, but since the new version released, the new look and feel of gravity forms, I should do an updated one just to walk everybody through that. Um, Gosh, there's other things out there that I wanted to do. WP data tables, I should probably do another one on some other stuff that I've done with WP data tables. Oh, a question that I've gotten. Right. You. Um, this site in particular, this is a site that I built out with this particular admin. Oh, several years ago now. And it does some interesting things with the post lists and the way that we have done the archiving of these pages. And so I was going to do kind of like a very pointed walkthrough of how we have built out this particular site just to show people how to um, do this. Yeah. So what Jenna just mentioned in there is just kind of like a reiteration of what I was saying earlier. CMS support won't work any longer, and Help at Do It will be the only way that we'll um, have tickets created. So just be aware of that. I guess that's another thing for the WordPress user group, the community of practice group is. If I start to see some questions popping up in there, I'm more than happy to do some learn with Mats on those because I mean, for me, it's fun to learn how to do the various things that you guys all need to do. I love tinkering when it comes to building web pages. The number of one-on-one conversations I have with, hey, let's try to do this. It's I have those chats at least once a week, sometimes more, um, where it's just basically let's throw some things against the wall and see if it works, and then we come up with something that does, and it usually ends up being a decent workaround or an improved process. So let me know what you guys would like to learn about because I'd like to learn about it too. All right. That all being said, I'll kind of hold out for any questions that come in on the chat. Oh, yikes! Sorry about that. My desktop audio was on, and I was listening to my audio from the stream. I'm a professional. Okay. So, any questions? Anything that we can kind of go over in regards to stuff that we've talked about? Anything that you guys need some reiteration or um, re-emphasis on? Anything of that nature? Like I said, this was a light month for agenda, but sorry, reading. Like I said, I'm a professional. Any tips on how to write requests to help it do it is to cut down on the back and forth? Um, Gosh, that's an interesting question. That might be something that we might put towards um our particular help desk agent that helps us out, help desk um staffer who helps us out with our support functionality. Um Honestly, the one thing that Jenna and I have seen in the past when tickets get kicked up to us is just a very minimal amount of information comes in the ticket, and that usually is what causes those back and forths to start happening. If you have something happening with your site, you just need to make sure that you're putting in, who are you, your site, um, what exactly is happening, what do you expect to be happening, any screenshots of what it is. Um, A lot of times, the more pointed you are with the request, the faster it's going to get bumped up to us if it's something that requires a little more in-depth look for us. Um, that's probably the best thing that I can say there. But I can reach out to Dan, our help desk agent, and ask him if he has some guidance on that as well. Um, sure, Nicole. One thing that I did want to add in is no, it just completely forgot. We do have our support form as well. This will also redirect to help at doit.wis.edu. So you could go here to fill this out whenever anything happens. Um, and then just put in any information as well as any screenshots of what you might have. So, uh, yeah, what Lori said. So, for those of you who are a little more agile in regards to, uh, troubleshooting prior to reaching out, help desk agents have a very, and these again, these are when you're dealing with the level one, you're dealing with the students. And they have very specific processes that they follow when they receive a ticket. They're going to look into the internal help documentation. They're going to look into the internal knowledge base documentation. They might even reach out to us in Teams to chat with us real quick. Um, then it'll get kicked up to us. So again, the more pointed you are with your conversation, or I'm sorry, with your request, hopefully the easier it can either be answered or get kicked up to us from that standpoint. Okay, so sizing image for various page elements. So um, if you would, um, so I'll pointedly talk to Nicole, although this will maybe you know be beneficial to many of you. Um, so at our knowledge base, one of the top visited documents that we have, and it's number 6 right here, is using Photoshop to crop images. So in here, it's basically a walkthrough for the hero image, but the steps in here can be used for any of the other types of images that you want to use. But essentially, this walks you through using Adobe Photoshop, which we all have access to as employees. You can install the Adobe product suite. Photoshop is one of those. I use Photoshop constantly whenever I'm doing page design and page setups. Um, but at the very bottom of this document, I have all of the sizes that are the recommended sizes for the various page elements that we have. And one of the things that I do want to stress, and I think I do have this. Do I have a Learn with Matt on this? I don't, but I bet you, let's see, if I go to my training and all of my training videos, huh, I don't have it out here. I know I did one. Oh, there it is. Image editing using Photoshop. This video right here, um, this one will kind of walk you through what my process is. It's a longer process than to fit into the next 10 minutes or so. You could once it lands on a page. So, for example, if I bet you I don't have anything in this training environment. Oh, I do. Okay, I must have duplicated everything. Okay, so if I dump an image on the page, um, please use alt text. Everybody remember, whenever you use images on a wisc.edu site, any site actually on the interwebs, but I speak to you as a member of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Make sure that you're using alt text. Actually, um, let me grab this real quick because friend of the service, Jean-Yves, um, sent me a very nice alt text. It has to do specifically with Shopify, but this is an excellent article on considerations when using alt text. So, brief side topic there, but I think it's beneficial to for everyone to sort of see that. So, anyways, down at the bottom here, you have a sizing option. So you can specify image page element. Oh, okay. Gosh, that's a good. That might be. Let's set up a chat, Nicole, to kind of talk about maybe specifically what you have. So if you have a two column layout and you use the image, and then do you mean like you put text over here on the side? So let's just grab this. So yeah, so the image that fits into there is, let me see if I have that actually. Yeah, I'll have to take a look and add that to this. My assumption is that it will fit. It will be somewhere along the lines of either the 600 by 400 or the 900 by 600 would be the recommended one. But that might be something where we'd have to chat off. We could chat offline and just set up a time to meet to talk about that. But that is my assumption is that if if you're dealing with an image that is either a too big or not saying that you're dealing with this, but if it's ever an image that's too small and then it stretches, that likely has to do with the default size of the image when it was uploaded. So yeah, but yeah, we can chat offline about that. Jeez, I filled an hour. How about that? We're looking into ways we could offer different display options for posts. Oh, yep, yeah. So Jenna put that conversation in there. All right. Um, okay, so that's that. We'll end it there. I'll hang out for any other like small questions that might pop in. But again, everybody should have my email. Um, you guys should know how to reach out to me in Teams. Reach out to the community of practice group as well if you have some questions for how they do things. Again, like that kind of conversation of like how using um, post lists and things like that. That's the kind of stuff that we would love to see kind of happening so that um, we can kind of keep track of that conversation a little bit better. So I don't want to end it too soon though because there's a conversation going on, and I feel like if I pull the plug, something something will happen. What did she ask? Featured content log. Yeah. So something along this line. Yeah. I think what we're kind of looking at is like using an image and then putting like recent posts in. I know some people, yeah. So what Linda is saying as well. Is it gonna make me do the dubs? Oh, just a news post list there. This is the kind of thing where um, we're kind of looking at is um, this isn't an automated process. This is something that has to be done manually, and like when things need to then be archived, you have to manually do that kind of stuff there. So again, Jenna was just asking like this kind of idea where like a more aesthetically pleasing or attractive way to display those news articles. So but okay, so we'll end it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. As always, please reach out if you have any questions or if you need any help with anything. I love chatting with all of you, so don't uh, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. So back to the intro scene, and we will cut it there. Take care, everybody.